Those are Pawpaws I picked actually quite a while ago, and they were mashers at the time, meaning basically that they came down off the tree and got variously injured. Not so much that I couldn't keep them, but also too much for me to want to sell them. So they go into the big bin of mashers. It's been long enough since I picked these that some are too far gone, which is why they're winding up in this bag. So I have a new Pawpaw friend. He's asking for a whole lot of spoiled fruit that he can basically get the seeds out of. I'm also selling him some actually like finished processed seeds, which comes from the end of this whole process. But also he just wanted some for basically less cost, and that's fine because I got a whole lot of rotten fruit and I can also just go out in the woods and get a bunch more. So process is get them out of the bin. If they're very obviously just rotten, they go straight over here. Mostly I've been at least giving most of them a chance. So they go into the colander, give them a quick rinse, and then bring them over here. Basically cut them the long way around this way, like you cut an avocado, and then peel it apart, like it was an avocado. Squeeze it into here, get all the stuff out, make sure no skins wind up in there. Trying to get just pulp and seeds. And then the leftover skin goes into there. That's some finished product over there. And so that's the completion of the first step. It'll go over there with the whisk attachment on the mixer and turn this basically into like a slurry. So it just loosen all this stuff up and homogenize all this pulp, a lot of different trees, and get this all this kind of uniform and also get a lot of the stuff that's attached to the seeds off. And then the last step will be running it through our sugar sieve. I already ran it for a few seconds. It's already starting to get where it should be, but I'm actually probably gonna run it for like 15 minutes on the 2-speed there. All right, so this is the setup that we usually use for making sugar, but I'm using it to do our last step of processing Pawpaws. So we ran it through the mixer, we got our slurry here. It's all kind of jelly-like now, and the seeds are all loosened off the pulp. This is the sugar sieve or granulator, depending on what you want to call it. It's kind of a custom-made thing that I can't remember, some Amish craftsman over in Indiana or Ohio. We weren't quite remembering, but anyway, they made this custom thing. So it's got a sieve screen in the bottom. It's got kind of a cone in the middle, and then it's got this attachment that's basically a paddle. And it's a drill attachment. And this has variable speed, which is good because I've discovered that doing this with the Pawpaws, you gotta do real low and slow so you're not cracking the seeds at all. But Austin Cliff was here a few days ago, and you know, we have stuff for doing all kinds of cooking and processing in his kitchen. And while we were talking, he looked at that and he goes, "What's that for?" And I knew immediately that he was thinking about Pawpaws, and I couldn't believe it. I'd never thought of it before. And it turns out it works like a dream as long as you run it real slow. So I'll try to video while this is running. Let's give it a shot. Nice and slow. You see that a lot already poured out, but a lot more is going through now. And yeah, not running it too hard because we don't want to pinch the seeds between the paddle and the screen. But I mean, you can see it all coming off of there. The nice thing about this drill too is that you can run it in reverse. So once it seems like it's kind of starting to pile up behind the paddle, we can run it again. Oh, I gotta make sure to hold the handle. Oh, too hard, too hard. I'm stuck on a seed. It doesn't take much of a thing. You know, I could probably do it a little faster and running it higher, but then I'd wind up with a product that might have seeds and stuff too. And look at that, mostly cleaned up. I'll run it a little more after this, but it's kind of hard doing this while making the video. But you know, look at all that nice clean pulp. Good stuff. Final product looks better in person than it does here. iPhone's so weird. It makes it look like gray. It's actually a really nice yellow orange. You know, it's like Pawpaw colored. There it is. Nice, even texture, kind of looking like pumpkin soup, but it is not. Ta-da!
Special thanks to Jeff Hake for that video, and thank you to all the folks out at Funk's Grove Maple Syrup and Heritage Fruits and Grains for everything that you do. There are probably a lot of folks out there in TV land who are going to want to know exactly who built that sugar sieve. I don't have a Ninja food processor with a dough blade, but I do have a KitchenAid stand mixer, so it's sort of like the home version of the commercial kitchen down at Funk's Grove. Like Jeff, I've cleaned and cut into all of these fruit to check to see if any of them are rotten. I had a couple clean spoons for taking tastes of any fruit that had odd colors to the flesh, but everything seemed to taste fine, so I proceeded to use a clean spoon to make quenelles out of the middle of the fruits and squeeze the skins to get the excess pulp into the bowl. The work really seems to move along once you adjust the playback speed. The wire whisk attachment really is the way to go. I noticed that the paddle seemed to shoot seeds and the dough blade didn't quite reach the seeds in the bottom of the bowl. From here, my technique is cribbed directly from Appalachian Forager's excellent video. She strains the pulp through a salad spinner strainer into a bowl using a rubber spatula. Jeff is correct that it really just does take time for the whisk to thoroughly loosen the seed jackets. These skull baking molds were the result of an impulsive trip to Meijer looking for silicone molds in which to freeze the pulp. Hey kids, look, it's bear scat. The extra mixing really did yield maybe another half cup or so of pulp. For tinier, delicate fruits, you may not want a serrated spoon. I believe these are Taylor fruits. Although they're kind of small and seedy, they have good flavor and pulp color. The next part is me sort of pointing out to myself, a noob, that lever actually lowers and raises the bowl, which is incredibly handy. All right, more straining to fill out that mold and freeze. I processed my fruit in batches by type so I could wash and separate the seeds as I went. My pulp won't be completely homogeneous, but that's okay. So I assembled and cleaned all my silicone baking molds and ice cube trays and went to work. Every second of footage that you're currently watching reflects about a minute of actual work, not counting all of the preparation and setup involved before the camera was actually rolling. One piece of advice from the Appalachian Foragers video that you shouldn't ignore like I did up to about this point is to set up a soap and rinse bowl so you can clean your hands as you go, along with a nice clean towel. So some of this is me wandering off for mysterious reasons and also processing seeds by scraping off the remaining bits with my thumbnail. But here I am going back to processing more pulp. This gets pretty tedious here for a minute or so, and I guess I'm proving a point, but if this part bores you, just skip ahead a bit. One of my impulsive late-night purchases at the Meijer was Entenmann's pumpkin donuts with which to wipe the pulp bowl. All right, now it's time to do a little bit of quick frozen pulp math. 1 Skeletor is about 1 cup of pulp, which weighs about 8 ounces or 227 grams. 1 smaller cartoon Mr. Bones skull is about a half a cup of pulp, which weighs about 3.7 ounces, or about 105 grams, which is also equal to about 1 banana. 1 timer cube is about 1 fluid ounce, which weighs about 1.2 ounces, or 33 grams, which is approximately 1 sad popsicle minus 1 toothpick. 1 Han Solo is about a tablespoon, which weighs about 0.6 ounces, or 18 grams. I made Mrs. Hockmeyer's banana bread recipe, which is my go-to banana bread recipe, and I substituted 2 cups of pawpaw pulp for the 4 bananas in the recipe. I also substituted butterscotch schnapps for the vanilla extract. I added black walnuts, and I gave it a turbinado sugar top. It was really tasty, but it may have caused some tummy upsetting folks. Less is more when it comes to baking pawpaws. The shorter the bake time, I think the less likely you are to have problems later on. My neighbor made ice cream, which was really delicious and is a smart way to use pawpaw because it doesn't bake the pulp. I only snuck a peek and a little taste so far, but I decided to stick it right in the freezer before it melted. This pulp browned pretty quickly in the fridge. I found that if you can keep it in a jar, it's less likely to do this so quickly.